Sup, it's Doom Guide time. If you're here, you're probably looking to learn Doom, and well, you've come to the right place. Doomfist can be one of the hardest characters in the game to deal with, and quite often requires a large quantity of resources from the multiple team members to shut him down. He has some of the most explosive moments with all of his combos and potential for kills. He's one of those fun to play but horrible to play against characters, so let's just go over how to become menacing with Doomfist, starting with his kit. But before we get into his kit, let me just say, if you enjoy the video, why not leave it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It costs you nothing and it helps my channel grow. I also have plenty more content planned, so you want to make sure you don't miss out when I upload a video. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. Doomfist has a total of 250 standard health, which gives him slightly more than most damage characters, allowing him to take more shots and get into the fray more often. Doomfist's primary fire is hand cannon. Hand cannon is a shotgun type weapon that shoots at 11 pellets each shot. Each one of these pellets deals 6 damage, making each shot deal 66 damage if all pellets hit. Hand cannon has a rate of fire of 3 shots per second, which also gives his primary fire a damage per second of 198, which is actually quite high. However, this is where we talk about the drawbacks to his primary fire. First off, it only has 4 shots, so it takes him just over a second to unload his entire mag. But secondly, his primary fire will not automatically reload, but instead, it will reload 1 shot every 0.65 seconds after not shooting. This means that it will take almost 2.5 seconds to fully reload after unloading all of your bullets. But you can still use your abilities while the shots are reloading, and most of your damage comes from them anyway, so the restriction on this primary weapon is just to keep him in check, and in the end, it's actually quite balanced and fair when comparing him to the rest of the kit. Doomfist's first and primary ability is Rocket Punch. By holding down the alternate fire button, you charge up a punch. Once released, Doomfist will lunge forward at an incredibly fast rate. If he makes contact with an enemy, he will knock them back. If he knocks them back and that enemy makes contact with a wall, they will receive extra damage. The damage, distance Doom lunges, and the knockback amount all scale with how long the ability was held. The damage starts at 50 for the initial contact and 50 for hitting the wall, but at full charge the impact will deal 100 damage and hitting a wall will deal 150 damage, for a total of 250 damage. Rocket Punch takes 1.4 seconds to fully charge. However, you can continue holding the charge till 2 seconds into the ability where Doom will automatically lunge forward. But you don't always need to use the ability after charging it. If you press primary fire while charging, the ability will cancel, and it's a great way to scare enemies away and bait them out. This ability is at the core of Doom's playstyle. It provides mobility and damage, and it only has a 4-second cooldown, so yeah, get used to using it a lot. Doomfist's second ability is Uppercut. When activated, Doomfist will perform an uppercut with his gauntlet. This will send him, as well as any enemies directly in front of him, into the air. Every enemy hit will take 50 damage and will lose the ability to move in the air for 0.6 seconds, allowing Doom to easily line up his primary fire. This ability has a 6-second cooldown. Doomfist's third ability is Seismic Slam, and this one's a little more complicated than Uppercut, so bear with me. When activated, Doomfist will leap forward a short distance and slam into the ground, dealing damage to anyone in a small cone in front of him. The damage scales with how much time is spent in the air. The damage ranges from 25 to 125, and you can see just how much damage your slam will deal by the number on your screen when using the ability. So far this ability seems pretty tame, but it will get a bit more in depth than that. There are actually 2 types of Seismic Slams. The first one is the Arcing Slam. The Arcing Slam will deal more damage but cover a shorter distance. To perform an Arcing Slam, you need to activate the ability while standing on the ground or just after a jump. The second type of Seismic Slam is Linear. This type of slam will allow you to cover significantly further distance at higher speeds at the cost of damage. To perform a linear slam, you need to activate the ability directly after you uppercut or while falling. Once you have activated the ability, your trajectory cannot be changed, but you can still look around and angle the slam in any direction you want. Seismic Slam has a 6-second cooldown. Doomfist's ultimate ability is Meteor Strike. When activated, Doomfist will launch into the air and become untargetable. While in the ult, he can move around and choose a location to slam back down into. The slam has 2 rings of damage. In the inner ring, which has a radius of 2 meters, the Meteor Strike will deal 300 damage. Then, in the outer ring, which ranges from 2 meters to 8 meters in radius, it will deal between 200 and 15 damage depending on distance. The time in which you select where you want to land lasts for up to 4 seconds. And while selecting where to land, you can hold down secondary fire to change the camera angle, and this will allow you to access high grounds with your ult. Finally, Doomfist's passive is called the Best Defense. Whenever Doomfist hits an enemy with any of his 3 basic abilities, he gains 30 temporary health per enemy hit. And then his ult will provide 75 temporary health per enemy hit. After 1 second of gaining shields, they will start to decay at a rate of 3 health a second. The maximum amount of shields Doomfist can have is a total of 150, which will increase his health temporarily to 400, which is actually the same level as Xayah and Sigma, who are tank heroes. This passive is one of the reasons he is so hard to kill. The more he hits you, the more you have to hit him. But that's everything to do within his kit, so let's just do an overview of Doomfist and what you should be aiming to do while playing him. First off, Doomfist is so heavily reliant on his abilities, as most of his damage in fights will actually come from them, so make sure you're comfortable using them. But Doom is seen as a character that can constantly go in and get picks, but if you play Doom a bit more slower, you will reap significantly more rewards. Sure, you can go and blow up backlines instantly, but if they see it coming, you're not going to do anything except roll out from spawn. Before fights break out, you should be looking to CC the enemy team's tank line and farm damage for your ult so you can full send it with safety and an escape plan. Talking about an escape plan, let's move on to tips and concepts that you need to know about Doomfist to first play him effectively. First, let's talk about an escape plan. The largest mistake I see Doom players making is using all their abilities to go in and try and get a kill. And while this can net you a kill or two, you are still giving your life for it. When you go in for a dive onto a target, you need to have a plan on how you are going to exit and survive the engagement. The 2 standard combos for getting in and getting out are: number 1, using your rocket punch to try and hit a target into a wall, then uppercutting and perform a linear slam to get away. Number 2, using your slam to engage and then uppercutting, shooting a target with primary fire before using a rocket punch to escape. Another way to escape is just to use your ult. While in your ult, your abilities will continue to recharge, so if you have your ult, you can easily just go in with all of your abilities and use absolutely everything before ulting and waiting for as long as you can before landing with one of your standard combos again and then getting out with kills. As long as you can get in with kills and then get out, you are pretty much playing Doom correctly. Let's talk about the movement in Doomfist's kit, because mastering it will allow you to go for some stupid kills and escape some scenarios that you just shouldn't be able to. First off, let's talk about jumping at the end of your rocket punch lunge. If you jump in your rocket punch lunge, you will cancel the punch, but your momentum will not stop. So you can use this at the end of your punch to cover a further distance. But that's not all you can do with the jump. You also get to change the direction of your momentum, which will allow you to take corners and catch people by surprise. To do this, you need to look in the direction that you want to turn in and jump during the jump. To do this, just look in the direction you want to turn during the lunge and jump. Yet again, that's not all you can do with the rocket punch in terms of movement. If you jump out of your rocket punch against certain geometry, you will launch yourself into the air where you can use your seismic slam and uppercut to delete people. Combining all these things as well as your linear slam, there is nowhere safe on maps where Doom cannot get you. If he wants to get you, he will. But if you know he's coming, you can easily CC him and survive, so there is actually a bit of counterplay. I did sort of mention this earlier, but as Doom, you should look to use your CC to help your team. What I didn't say is that Doomfist has the most CC out of any character in the game. All of his 3 basic abilities apply some form of crowd control, and all of his abilities have extremely low cooldowns. This means that when playing against a Hammond, Overwatch pretty much becomes pinball as you knock away their tanks all over the place, and it makes approaching a Doom almost impossible for the other team. There are a lot more complex techniques and tricks you can do with Doomfist, but there are only so many things that I can cover in this video, which is intended to provide an overview on how to get started when playing Doom. So if you want to jump down that rabbit hole, you can, but in the end, you really don't need all the complex stuff, just a basic understanding of Doomfist. But that's everything I felt like I wanted to cover to get you started into playing Doomfist. I hope you all found it helpful and learned something new. And if you did, or you just enjoyed the video again, why not leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. I have a lot more content planned and you don't want to miss it. But till next, see you then.
My phone lights up, but it's never you. I can't help but feel so lonely. I know there's things that I can't